Keon Trembly gripped the steering wheel of his weathered pickup truck, the engine humming steadily as he navigated the familiar stretch of Route 14. The sun hung low in the sky, casting long shadows across the sparse landscape dotted with withered trees and faded billboards advertising long, forgotten motels and diners. It was a route he had traveled countless times, from the imposing gates of Fort Lunsford to the bustling I-20 interchange. After 15 years in the Army, from dusty bases in Kansas to sweltering assignments in Kuwait and Djibouti, this drive felt like a ritual, a brief limbo between the regimented world of military life and the fleeting moments of normalcy. He was still in his standard fatigue uniform, the fabric stiff and caked with dust from 3 grueling nights on uneven terrain during a recent training exercise. His boots, laced tightly, bore the grit of the field, and a persistent ache throbbed in his lower back, a reminder of the physical toll his service exacted. His face, sun-tanned and etched with fine lines from years under harsh suns, was damp with sweat, but discomfort was an old companion. It no longer fazed him. All he craved that evening was simplicity, a cold bottle of water to quench his thirst and wash away the day's fatigue. Spotting a flickering sign for a Gulf station just beyond a construction zone, he signaled and turned in. The place looked like a relic from another era: rusted pumps, crooked price boards, and a dingy storefront that hadn't seen a thorough cleaning since the 90s. Inside, through the grimy windows, he could see a teenager lazily restocking the chip rack, while a woman leaned against the counter, absorbed in her phone, chewing gum with mechanical indifference. It wasn't much, but it had lights, a roof, and vending machines. That sufficed. Keon eased his truck next to pump number 2, leaving the engine running and the windows down to let in the faint evening breeze. He reached into the glove box for his debit card, his movements deliberate and unhurried. But then, without warning, 2 patrol cars, black and white units emblazoned with Laurel Creek police, swooped into the lot. No sirens blared, no lights flashed, just a sharp, purposeful turn that suggested they had been tailing him from the highway. One slid in behind his truck, blocking any rear exit, while the other angled in front, effectively trapping him. Keon didn't panic. His military training kicked in stay calm, assess the situation. He thought it must be a mistake. Wrong vehicle, wrong plates, perhaps a mix-up with someone else. These things happened. He turned off the engine, placed both hands visibly on the steering wheel, took a slow, measured breath, and waited. The officers emerged from their vehicles. The first was tall and wiry, with pale skin, a red beard, and mirrored sunglasses perched on his nose despite the dipping sun. The second was stockier, heavy-set, young, bald with a goatee, and carried himself with a cocky swagger that set Keon's instincts on edge. They approached without a word, the tall one heading to the driver's side, the stockier one circling to the passenger door. Keon kept his posture relaxed, his voice even. "Evening, officers. Can I help you?" The red, bearded officer, later identified as Riley Gant, stopped a foot away, his hand resting casually near his belt. "We got a call," he said slowly, his tone laced with suspicion. "Someone reported a man walking around here in military gear. Suspicious." Keon let out a short, dry breath, not quite a laugh. "Yeah, that's me. Just finished a rotation. I'm Staff Sergeant Trembly. This uniform's not fake." Gant's mouth remained a flat line, unyielding. "Step out of the vehicle." No explanation, no question, just a command. Keon blinked, his mind racing through protocols. "Sir, with respect, I have my military ID in my pocket. I can show you right now. I said, "Step out." Meanwhile, the second officer, Curtis Doblin, had begun shining a flashlight through the windows, peering inside as if expecting to uncover contraband hidden under the seats. Keon opened the door slowly, no sudden movements. He'd been trained in de-escalation, military police checkpoints, border patrols, even dealings with corrupt guards overseas. Patience and posture were key. As he stepped out, he held his hands up, then slowly reached toward his breast pocket. "ID's right here. Let me show it to you." "Don't move," Gant barked, his hand twitching toward his holster. Keon froze. "Okay, I'm not resisting." But it didn't matter. Doblin came up behind him, grabbed his right wrist, twisted it hard, and shoved him forward into the car door. Keon's cheek slammed against the window, his boots scraping the pavement as they cuffed him swiftly. "What the hell are you doing?" Keon snapped, wincing from the pain shooting up his arm. "You're being detained," Doblin replied coolly. "Impersonating a U.S. service member is a federal offense." Keon exhaled through his nose, forcing calm. "I am a U.S. service member. My ID is literally in my pocket." Gant pulled the card out, examining it with a sneer, as if it were a counterfeit bill. "Could have printed this at Kinko's." A small crowd began to form. A young mom stood by the ice machine, her toddler clinging to her leg, eyes wide. Two teens lingered near the soda machine, one holding up his phone, recording. Inside the store, the cashier watched with her mouth agape, a half-eaten bag of chips dangling from her hand. Keon didn't fight or shout. He was done pretending this was a simple misunderstanding. "I've served 4 deployments," he said, his voice low and steady. "I'm not some guy in a costume." Gant glanced at him but said nothing. The cuffs remained tight, biting into his skin, but Keon wasn't without options. With his head turned slightly, cheek still pressed to the car, he managed to tilt his wrist inward. His smartwatch buzzed faintly as he tapped a quick command, a silent signal to a saved contact labeled "Boss." The silence from the onlookers was palpable, charged with unspoken tension. Doblin kept his knee planted near Keon's thigh, not with full weight, but enough to assert dominance. Keon kept his breathing even, his mind clear. He'd faced worse, hostile environments overseas where a wrong move could mean life or death. This was American soil, but the injustice burned just as hot. "You do realize this is unlawful detention, right?" Keon said, his tone sharp but controlled. Doblin snorted. "You keep talking, man. Ain't nobody buying that uniform. Off eBay defense." Curtis Gant added, "Just zip it. We'll sort this out back at the station." Keon's jaw clenched. They hadn't called in his credentials, hadn't run a background check. No radio chatter, nothing. Just accusations and force. "I don't consent to any search or seizure. You haven't even stated probable cause." Gant looked up, finally noticing the phones aimed at them. His face twitched. He knew they were being watched, but instead of de-escalating, he doubled down. "You can quote the Constitution all you want. Doesn't change the fact you're in cuffs until we verify who you are." Keon didn't respond verbally, but his mind raced. The signal had been sent. Help was coming. Doblin stepped in front of him. "I said, who'd you call?" "My commanding officer." Keon replied flatly. "I suggest you get your paperwork in order before she gets here." Doblin laughed, a mocking bark. "Your commanding officer, huh? What's she gonna do? Airdrop a lawyer out of a Black Hawk?" Gant smirked. "He's bluffing. Look at this ID. It looks real, sure, but there's no barcode, no scan strip." "That ID is valid military issue," Keon said, his voice regaining its calm edge. "Check with the base, Fort Lunsford. Ask for Major Brenner Holcomb. Tell her you've got one of her staff sergeants in cuffs over a bottle of water." They didn't move. Instead, Gant stepped back, his hand on his holstered weapon, not drawn but a clear threat. "You know what? Back of the squad car. Let's get him off the lot until we can figure this out." Keon didn't resist as they guided him roughly toward the cruiser. "You sure you want to go through with this?" he asked, glancing over his shoulder. "Because once she steps out of that car, this whole thing flips." Doblin scoffed. "The only thing that's flipping is your story, man. Let's go." They opened the back door. That's when a dark gray Ford Expedition pulled into the lot. Government plates, tinted windows. It didn't just arrive, it commanded the space, rolling to a halt with authority. Inside the station, the cashier dropped her bag of chips. One of the teenagers whispered, "That's got to be her." But neither officer moved yet. They didn't know they were seconds away from a reckoning. The driver's door opened, and out stepped Major Brenner Holcomb, not rushed, not yelling, just present. She was in uniform too, pressed and clean, her rank displayed sharply. Holcomb wasn't one to raise her voice. She didn't need to. Her authority settled like a weight, quiet but final. Keon, still behind the open squad car door, let out a breath. He didn't smile, but the tension in his shoulders eased slightly. Doblin saw her, paused, narrowed his eyes. "Can I help you, ma'am?" he asked, hands near his belt. Major Holcomb looked him dead in the face, didn't answer immediately. She took 2 steps forward, glancing between both officers, then resting her eyes on Keon. "Sergeant Trembly, are you under arrest?" Keon turned slightly. "They haven't said. Claimed I was impersonating military personnel." Her jaw tightened. She nodded once, precise, and turned back to the officers. "Remove the cuffs. Now." Gant blinked. "Excuse me, ma'am, but we received a officer." She interrupted, holding up a hand. "You've made a mistake, a serious one. You detained a ranking NCO in uniform, in public, without verifying identity through proper channels. I'm going to say this plainly, you're out of your depth." Doblin stiffened. "We had reason to suspect. You had assumptions. That's not the same thing." Her voice never changed pitch. No drama, just clarity. "Do you have a supervisor I can speak to?" The gas station fell dead quiet. Even the clerk had stopped moving. A kid by the ice chest held his phone at chest level, recording discreetly, the red circle flashing. Gant spoke slowly. "Ma'am, I'm not sure who you are exactly." "I'm Major Brenner Holcomb, 3rd Battalion Executive Officer, Fort Lunsford. My name and contact were embedded in the call you ignored. That call was logged through my staff sergeant's government-linked smartwatch, which tracks pings made under duress. You'll be receiving a visit from CAD within the next 48 hours. Neither officer replied. Doblin's eyes flicked to Gant, who looked ready to argue. Holcomb kept going. "Your best move right now is to remove the cuffs and issue an apology before this turns into something that costs more than your uniforms." Gant hesitated, then pulled out the handcuff key and stepped toward Keon. He unlocked the cuffs without a word. Keon stepped away, rubbing his wrists. Holcomb turned to him. "Are you injured?" "Only my patience." Her eyes flicked back to Doblin. "You placed your hands on a senior NCO without cause or lawful order. That's a problem." Doblin started to respond, but Holcomb cut in. "You had no probable cause, no verification, and from what I understand, no explanation. You handcuffed a man in uniform without even running his name through the proper system." Doblin straightened. "We had a call. Someone phoned in about a suspicious man walking around in Como. and instead of verifying, you jumped straight to physical restraint. Holcomb's tone sharpened slightly. You're telling me you looked at a uniformed black man and decided he was a fake? That's your defense? A flicker of guilt crossed Gaunt's face, but he stayed silent. Let me be very clear, Holcomb continued. You're lucky this didn't end worse, and I mean for you, because if any of those bystanders or my soldier had been hurt, you'd already be in a cruiser heading toward your own disciplinary hearing. The kid filming stepped forward. They didn't even ask for ID at first, he said, still recording. Just yanked him out the car. Doblin turned. You need to stay back. Holcomb raised her hand. Don't speak to anyone. Don't touch anyone. You're done here. She looked around at the witnesses, then back at Keon. We're leaving. I'll handle it from here. As they walked to the SUV, Holcomb muttered, You all right? Keon nodded. Yeah, seen worse. Just never thought I'd see it here. Holcomb glanced back one last time. Keep your record clean, Sergeant. This town's about to get loud. But before they could even pull out, the videos were already spreading. The teenager with the phone had uploaded the clip. Shaky, vertical, grainy, showing the encounter from start to Holcomb's arrival. Captioned, Soldier gets cuffed for being black in uniform. Laurel Creek, Al. Share this. It took just minutes to gain traction. Local Facebook pages reshared it. A woman named Denitra Wilkes posted, My cousin, Keon, been in the military half his life. This, what he comes home to. Then a Birmingham journalist reposted with Keon's ID screenshot. This is Staff Sergeant Keon Trembly, active duty, handcuffed without cause. His CO had to show up. Where's the accountability? By the time Holcomb and Keon reached Fort Lunsford gates, the story had exploded. Keon's phone buzzed non-stop. His sister, a corporal from his unit, his old mentor, Sarge, you're trending. He rubbed his face, tired. He'd faced real threats overseas, but this powerlessness on home soil cracked something in him. Report to the base clinic, Holcomb said as she parked. Document everything, then we talk to JAG. Keon nodded, his voice thin. I'm not trying to make this about me. I just wanted a drink. You didn't make this about you, they did. What you do now, that's your call. He stepped out, boots hitting gravel with new weight. Holcomb filed a report, then called her father, a retired colonel and civil rights lawyer. Document it all. He advised. Timeline, names, witnesses, video. These things disappear without pressure. A formal complaint was filed against Gant and Doblin. Internal Affairs launched a review, but public pressure surged. The mayor's press conference tried to calm. We support our law enforcement and military. It satisfied no one. Comments flooded. Where's the apology? By midday, a protest formed outside the police department. Veterans, students, clergy, parents with signs. Who protects the protector? Would you cuff him if his skin was lighter? Chief Warren Breck watched from his office, head in hands. We're not hiding, we need to face this. But national outlets called, MSNBC, CNN. The story played to all audiences. Keon stayed silent. He didn't need to speak. The video did. Then, a second clip from Gerald Hammond, the high schooler. Y'all missed the beginning. It showed Doblin cuffing immediately after Keon identified himself. It hit 2 million views fast. Comments, they didn't even ask his name. If that's with cameras on, imagine off. Alicia Ferris, retired Air Force captain, posted her video. I wore this for 20 years. Never thought my brothers would be suspects for their skin. Open letters poured in from veterans, spouses, ex-law enforcement, demanding consequences. Laurel Creek split. Some outraged, protesting, others defensive. How were they to know? But Keon's record went public. Commendations, deployments, including Operation Serpent Watch, where he coordinated evacuations. Gas station camera footage surfaced, showing the immediate confrontation. PD statement, aware of footage under investigation. But public opinion had verdict. By afternoon, the department was besieged. Emails, calls, news vans. Breck in his office, we put them on leave. What more? You know what they want. His deputy said. Attorneys drafted statements. Mayor wanted press, but no agreement. Keon's photo from Poland viral. Risked his life for a country that wouldn't let him pump gas. At home, Keon sat in dark, phone off. His wife Cherelle, I can't open Facebook. It's everywhere. You haven't said anything. What would I say? Their daughter Zari, teacher, showed the video, said it's about respect. Keon sat with her. Did it scare you? I didn't understand why they grabbed you. I'm okay. That night, Keon read emails, reporters, podcasts, a vet's message. You handled better than I would. He typed. They didn't see the uniform, the rank, the service, only what they wanted, but cameras see too. He saved it. The town hall that evening was packed. Mayor, we're here to listen. Shouts, why is Gant paid? Holcomb spoke, detained without verification, failure of training, leadership, respect. Applause. Deandre Pitt, vet, I've lived it, pulled over 6 times, feels like a message, more voices, teacher, deputy, sophomore, no defenses. Mayor tried to close, but crowd had spoken. As the sun climbed higher, casting a harsh light over Laurel Creek, the digital storm that had begun with a single video upload intensified into a relentless torrent. Keon Trembly, still nursing the faint red marks on his wrists from the morning's cuffs, had barely stepped back into his apartment when his phone began vibrating incessantly. He ignored it at first, sinking into the worn couch, his mind replaying the gas station scene like a loop he couldn't escape. But the notifications piled up: texts, calls, alerts from social media apps he rarely used. His sister from Tallahassee, are you okay? Saw the video. A corporal, Sarge, trending on X. Even his mentor from Fort Bliss, stay sharp. Cherelle, his wife, paced the kitchen, her own phone in hand. It's everywhere, Keon. Facebook, X, even local news sites. They're sharing that clip like wildfire. He rubbed his temples, the ache from the field exercise now compounded by this new exhaustion. I just wanted water, he muttered, echoing his earlier words to Holcomb. But the world didn't care about his simple intent. It had latched onto the injustice, amplifying it across screens nationwide. Outside, the town buzzed with a mix of shock and anger. At the gas station where it all unfolded, a small group had gathered, not protesters yet, but curious locals snapping photos of the pumps, whispering about the soldier incident. The teenager who filmed, Gerald Hammond, sat on the curb, his phone blowing up with likes and shares. His initial post had hit 5,000 retweets in minutes, and now, with the second clip he uploaded, the one showing the immediate cuffing, it surged past 1 million views. They were gonna put him in the car before anyone said a word. His caption read, Gerald wasn't seeking fame. He was 17, lived nearby, and had been grabbing a soda when it happened, but his plain-spoken interview with a local station, aired live midday, cut through the noise. They weren't scared of him, he said, voice steady despite his youth. They were just used to doing stuff like that and getting away with it. That line echoed across platforms, quoted in threads, podcasts, and news tickers. It wasn't rehearsed, it was raw, and that's why it stuck. At Fort Lunsford, Major Holcomb fielded calls in her office, her desk cluttered with reports and a cooling coffee mug. The base commander had been briefed, JAG officers consulted. "This isn't just about Trembly," she told a colleague. "It's about how we protect our own on home soil." She had already spoken with her father, the retired colonel, who advised pressure through truth. Now, as videos spread, that truth was self-propelling. In Laurel Creek's quieter neighborhoods, reactions varied. Denitra Wilkes, Keon's cousin, reshared furiously from her living room, her kids playing in the background. "This is family," she posted. "He's served half his life, and this is the welcome." Her network amplified it, jumping from local groups to broader civil rights pages. By noon, national attention peaked. A Birmingham journalist's post with Keon's ID screenshot garnered shares from influencers and outlets. MSNBC ran a segment, "Active Duty Soldier Detained in Uniform, Racial Profiling or Protocol." CNN followed, "Commanding Officer Intervenes in Shocking Video." Even conservative sites weighed in, "Disrespect to our troops." Keon finally checked his phone, scrolling through the deluge. His deployment photo from Poland, him laughing amid a convoy, had gone viral with captions like "Hero treated like a criminal." He felt exposed, his private service now public spectacle. "I don't want this," he told Sherelle. "I just want to be left alone." But solitude was impossible. Protests formed outside the police department, veterans in faded caps standing with students, clergy leading chants, parents with signs. "Justice for Trembly. Uniform means respect." The crowd swelled as word spread online, drawing people from nearby towns. Inside the station, Chief Breck paced his office, the air thick with tension. Phones rang off the hook. Emails flooded. How did this blow up so fast? He barked at his deputy. One video, and now the world's watching. Gant and Doblin, on administrative leave, watched from home. Gant replaying the clip, cringing at his own defensiveness. Doblin texting defiantly, "Union will fight this." The mayor's press conference, hastily called, drew cameras. "We support law enforcement and military," he said, voice strained, but questions flew. Why no apology? Is this racial? It backfired, fueling more outrage. Alicia Ferris's video from her porch, medals gleaming, added fuel, not because of what they wore, but what they looked like wearing it. It hit ABC by afternoon. Open letters circulated, veterans decrying betrayal, spouses sharing stories, ex-cops admitting systemic issues. Town divided, some joined protests ashamed, others posted defenses. Officers were cautious. But Keon's record, commendations, Serpent Watch heroics, dismantled excuses, gas station footage leaked, showing no threat, PD vague statement, under investigation. By mid-afternoon, siege intensified, news vans, calls from across states. Breck met with attorneys drafting responses. "We can't admit fault yet," one said, but pressure mounted. At home, Keon talked with Zari. Teacher showed it. He held her. "They were mean, but I'm okay." Emails poured, media requests, a vet's encouragement. He typed his thoughts. They saw what they wanted. Cameras don't lie. Town hall that evening packed the civic center. Holcomb spoke first, failure of respect. Applause thundered. Pitt shared his story, feels like a message. More voices rose, unanimous in demand. Mayor closed weakly, but the crowd's roar drowned him. As night approached, the day's events coalesced into a force for change, all within the span of one relentless day. As evening shadows lengthened over Laurel Creek, the weight of the day's events pressed down like an impending storm. Keon Trembly sat on his porch, the cool air a brief respite from the chaos that had unfolded since morning. His wrists still bore faint marks, a physical reminder, but the deeper ache was emotional. Exposure, vulnerability on a scale he never sought. Inside, Cherelle prepared dinner, Zari colored quietly, but the outside world intruded via constant phone buzzes. The decision came swiftly, 2 emails, 1 press release at dusk. Laurel Creek PD posted, Officers Gant and Doblin terminated following investigation, committed to accountability. It rippled instantly, local news splits, green footage and release, state, then national headlines, accountability in Laurel Creek. Keon read it silently at the table. That's something, Cherelle said. But it wasn't closure. Firing didn't erase the cuffs, the dismissal. Still, something shifted, not relief, but space to breathe. An unmarked sedan arrived, Special Agent Dalton, DOJ, opening inquiry into patterns. He said, folder open with stills, transcripts. Yours isn't the first complaint, just the one they couldn't ignore. Why now? Keon asked. Videos you'll see, oh, the visibility. Stories hit when excuses fail. Keon nodded, unintended center of something bigger. After Dalton left, Keon reopened his file, added, Justice is ensuring it doesn't happen again. He published it. Blog, social media, plain text on black. It caught fire, quoted on broadcasts, shared by organizations, politicians. But Keon sought no heroism. At a veterans event that night, jeans, tea, he spoke. I just wanted water. Laughter, then seriousness. I didn't want to be a symbol, but silence isn't luxury. We stop this by talking, teaching, correcting. Applause rose, hands shaken, hugs exchanged. A Vietnam vet, proud of you. Outside, sky clear, Keon felt shifted. Not just wronged, but resilient. The world changed with witnesses, and this day they had watched. The story ended there, within the confines of that single, transformative day. No further breakdowns, just resolution in the quiet aftermath.
If you liked this story, please like, subscribe, and share it with others so they can learn something from it too.